everybody. I'm John Washbush, and I'm the Montrose County Manager. I'm here with the chair of our Board of County Commissioners, Sue Hanson, and we are trying something a little different to communicate with the public. So we're going to be doing a series of video podcasts because that's it. A lot of podcasts are audio, but this one's video too. And so we're finally going to fill that void in the podcast world where people are just not getting enough county government in their podcast.
So we're naming this County Talk, and we're going to do it somewhat regularly so that you can stay up to date on what's going on. And we're going to cover today sort of the top 5 things that are going on in the county. But as we hear from you, we will change topics or things that they might be interested in. We can switch it up. So that's what we're here for, and we're hoping to have some fun and not make it boring, right? So the first thing we wanted to talk about was you might have noticed that there's been a record snowfall. So what's happened, John? What do we have?
Well, no surprise, or not surprise. I think everybody was surprised by the volume of snow, but folks are aware that we had a big winter, and that means we've been having a big runoff here in terms of the melt. We've actually caught a break the past few weeks where temperatures have remained kind of warm enough to melt, but also kind of have a slow, steady runoff. So I think as of this morning, we're down to a little bit less than 17 inches of snow water equivalent on the plateau.
We've also had some really early releases, like from the water users and stuff in the reservoir, just so that they can get the water down. Isn't that kind of helping not accumulate flooding in the areas?
The Uncompahgre Valley water users have been a huge help in just managing water as we have the runoff and it comes through the valley. They're routing it really well and assisting Road and Bridge in getting the water through the valley, because really we can't make there be any less volume. We can just keep it flowing. And the Montrose County Road and Bridge crews have done a phenomenal job of keeping culverts clean, keeping bridges cleared at all hours of the day. So that's our commitment, is we'll just keep it flowing until peak runoff has passed.
And they also kind of got ahead of it, which was cool. They cleared the culverts before the snow melt, and then we've had some cold evenings, so that kind of helps slow down the rate of melt. But one of the cool things is the county ordered an automatic sandbag filler, because you might recall when I first got elected, we had a flooding out at Happy Canyon, and so I was in my muckluck boots and loading sandbags.
Yep. Props to our fleet department for proactively ordering that sandbag filling machine. It was about $10,000 to buy that machine, and it fills sandbags rapidly, really much faster and more efficiently than
400 volunteers.
Yeah, than we ever did.
Then all the back problems, because that's tough.
We've deployed it on both ends of the county and made sandbags available over on the Montrose side and in the west end. And so far, so good with those distributions, which have been free to citizens that want to use them.
And I think people are taking care of it. And just sort of to piggyback on that, really important for citizens and our friends to know that we actually, on the website, you can report a concern, which is why I have this lovely cone hanging out in our little podcast room. But if you go onto the front page of montrosecounty.net, you can report a concern. And what's cool about that is that it immediately goes to all 3 commissioners. It goes to John, it goes to our Road and Bridge supervisor, and it goes to our Public Works director. So you get pretty much immediate response, and I've seen the responses come within a day. If it's a little bit more difficult of a problem, it might take a little bit longer, but it's a real efficient way for citizens to let us know what's going on in the community and what concerns they have. So that's been a real cool thing.
Yeah, so click the cone.
Click the cone.
It's prominent on the front page of the website. And as Commissioner Hanson said, you will get a hold of everybody all in one shot. No need to call around individually to
it used to be
commissioners or departments.
Everybody, each got a different email, so it's this keeps the communication centralized, and we can be more efficient.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So report a concern that, most of our calls come in about roads, bridges, holes, potholes, all sorts of stuff. But we have a lot of other things going on, which I think that you might be interested in. The capital projects. The one thing that's, I think, interesting is that some of these projects that we've been talking about, we didn't start talking about them last Tuesday. They've been, in the case of the historic courthouse, I remember the first thing I saw when I first got elected was a plan from 2010. And was that the first time that the discussion started coming up about doing something with the courthouse?
The courthouse being 100 years old has been discussed as long as, anybody can really remember. At the county, we did have a historic structure assessment completed in, like, 2010, 11, somewhere in there. We had a facilities sort of master plan completed in 2008, 9. And some of those ideas have stayed evergreen and are being implemented now. And some have gone by the wayside. But, with regard to the courthouse, we do have an RFP out. We made some progress here in May of 23, where that RFP is now out on the streets, and we are really looking forward to getting some bids to actually move forward with design and construction of the courthouse.
And I think we've been talking about the courthouse just, with Keith and Roger and I for a long time. I mean, since I've been here, we've been kind of talking about, are we going to do this? How can we do it? Can we afford it? And I'm assuming that in the past, it just, the money wasn't there. But we've been saving, and that's kind of what's interesting about the county, is that we're very fiscally conservative. So we do save money. We put money into capital funds so that we can use it at another point. So right now with the courthouse, I think we have $13 million in reserves. Is that correct? Is that about right?
Budget for 23 was 14.7. But we're looking at guaranteed maximum price of 11 million per the RFP at this point. So all that to say that, we've put the money in reserve. The cash is on hand, and we don't anticipate incurring any debt for the project,
which is a point of pride for me. I think we have this old building in the middle of town. It's kind of a centerpiece. As you can see, the town has kind of grown up around the courthouse, so it is very special, and we need to figure a way that we can get this done. So the design build, if we can get the bids in, our projection would be like it would be in the budget for next year, 2024, and then a potential start date of
early 24 for construction. But in terms of the contract, we think we could be under contract for the design build in July.
Right.
So 23.
So super cool. So let's get stuff done.
That's actual progress.
So it's not just the courthouse, although if you have any questions about the courthouse, feel free to touch base with us. We have information on our website as well. But there's other things. A pretty obvious construction project that is front and center. The airport is almost nearing completion.
It is getting there. Still a busy place. I dropped somebody off today. And the raceway, as we call it, but the driveway that goes around the front of the terminal is actually getting fully replaced right now and repaved, which has been necessary for a while, but is something we did not want to do until the major construction was done on the building. Terminal is still set to be complete, late July. That's contract completion date was, I think, end of September, if I recall, from a couple of years ago. So still on time, going really well. And I think probably the most visible and has generated more public excitement than about any other project I think we've ever done. So going really well. Hats off to our director of aviation, Lloyd Arnold.
He's doing a great job
balancing his normal work with just a daily huge construction project. It's been quite a thing.
You definitely have to dedicate your time to that. I think it's cool. We're going to actually have jet bridges. So we're a real grown-up airport now. Some of us will miss that because it was kind of nice to have the cow smell and you could just drop people off and but now we're sort of getting into the big time. We'll have 2 jet bridges at the airport. Those are coming in from Utah. So, and I noticed that the big sign, the indicator where you can hear about your flights, or it says Terminal 1 or whatever. And did you see it?
We're big enough to need
a sign. Yeah. I'm like, wow, that's a big sign. I won't be able to miss that. But yeah, the airport is a point of pride, and as we all know, that it's a huge economic driver for our community. So we run a lot of people. In fact, I think we've exceeded Grand Junction employments this year. So So we might be a smaller town than Grand Junction, but because we are in such close proximity to Telluride ski area, we get a lot of that kind of traffic. So yeah, it's really exciting. So what else is going on in the construction world?
We've got quite a few projects. We've got a big one under design, which is what we're calling the North Campus, but it's a replacement for our Health and Human Services building that's on South Townsend. That is under full design and engineering work and due to be complete latter part of this year, like end of 23.
Just the design.
Just the design.
Just the design.
And at that point, we can start to firm up pricing and timing for how we want to go forward with that building. The building on South Townsend is well loved, but was originally a electric company, Colorado Ute, from way back in the day, and has been converted decently over the years, but is not exactly ideal for the services that we provide out of that building.
I think that it shows the frugality of the county in the past, that you've been able to, add on, change things and make it work. But it is time. I know that when the summer hits, it's really hot in there because it's a pretty inefficient heat air system. And so people have to wear shorts, and it's really not exactly ideal. So it'd be really great if we could get this thing moving. And I know that we have a lot on the table. We're still looking at the West End Annex in the West End.
Yeah.
And we also have the jail remodel here locally. So those are other projects that, the public may not be really aware of that we're working on.
Yeah, so the West End Annex is exciting. I know the sheriff in particular is very excited about that. The sheriff's office for the west end of the county currently operates out of a converted hangar on the Newport Hopkins Airport field. So not ideal situation for them. And then we sort of have some converted buildings that we run our health and human services programs in the West End from. West End Annex would combine all of those. It would go on to the existing road and bridge site. And so definitely we'd gain some efficiency from not only shedding the older buildings, but being co-located with our road and bridge facility. That's also one that has been contracted for design. That process and project is really just started in that. I think that contract was awarded in January of 23, and they just started the serious design meetings over the past few weeks. I think it's slated to be delivered late this year, November, December time, at which time, just like the North Campus building, we'll be able to come up with pricing and timing for schedule. So it'd be great to get our law enforcement folks a better place to operate from. And then have our health and human services team be co-located out there as well. West End is a big part of our community, and we want to make sure that our employees and the public out there are getting served in a facility that's on par with what it should be.
And the jail, our jail expansion would include a Sallyport expansion and remodel, and also the booking area would be expanded.
Yeah, the whole separate project there. That's again many years in the works is the jail, Montrose County Jail on this side of the county. Design has been pretty well completed. Actually, plans have just now been submitted to City of Montrose and Montrose Fire Protection District for plan check. And I think the facilities team is planning to bid that project out in June. And so we are
moving right along,
real close to having that one out as well. Yeah, there's some renovation to the booking area. And I think some of the cells, kitchen, etc., that are going to make things, I think, both safer and more efficient for everybody that's using that facility, which that facility is now 25 years old already. So
right, and when you think about, they're already renting out a room, and then the courts are going to have to, down the road, we're going to have to look at that. So there's always something. It might be there's a lot going on with the county. And there is a lot in play, And we always have to make sure that we can afford all of those things. So
Yep.
that's part of the problem. We can talk about these, we talk about that we're designing, but it doesn't mean that every single one will absolutely get done on our time frame, even though we want it to be done as soon as possible and check it off the list. So we're always struggling with that between funding and do we have enough money? How much debt service do we want to take on? And the county has not typically been really big on taking debt. We like to pay for our things with cash.
Absolutely.
So mostly that has to do with being more responsible with our taxpayers' money and making sure that we're making wise choices about not wasting money. So,
And I appreciate you bringing up that point because we do prioritize. Like for the jail and the West End Annex, Sheriff has made it clear that the jail is the priority. So that will happen first before the West End Annex does. And then we'll have to see at some point down the line, if when the West End Annex fits into the budget. And so we prioritize like anybody else does.
yeah, that's good. Yeah, just like we budget, I'm sure you have a budget at your household. We have a budget in our household, and so you don't try not to exceed that, unlike other government areas that might exceed their expenditures. But okay, we won't talk about that.
And we limit debt. We really truly do. We like with the courthouse, that is the cash project is, it's nice for a local gov to be able to do that and not encumber taxpayers with any long-term debt while also being able to meet the facilities needs.
You've worked here a long time, so and you've gone through the ranks of being a planner and natural resource director. And do you, when you obviously know other governmental entities, do you feel like Montrose County is better than average in terms of how they utilize their how they are fiscally responsible, or do you have any sense of that?
Well, I'll just say that we are very fiscally responsible as a county. It's a point of pride that we do look out several years into the future on our budget, and rather than pull the trigger early on something, we're prone to wait to do a capital accrual to fund our capital improvements fund, and which is none of that's super exciting, but we will take the extra time to avoid having to encumber debt. Yeah, we do have some debt. There was a $10 million financing done on this airport project. And so that is contained to the airport fund. We like to remind folks that that is not your property tax dollars or sales tax dollars that fund the airport project. That is primarily federal revenue and passenger facility charges, et cetera. So that debt, as it is really contained to that fund. County some years ago did incur debt on the new road and bridge facility and then also the event center. So event center is really the only general fund debt that we have at this point.
But that's not too far into the future being paid off too.
That was a 15-year note, and we are 5-6 years into it, I think, at this point. Very low interest rate. I think it was 2.85%. Back in the day when you could get that kind of interest rate. So yeah, and I think the total payment there from general fund is like $333,000 a year, $338, which is not insignificant. I don't want to minimize that, but no, that is for the public's information what we're paying in debt for the event center every year.
Yeah, there's that's the part that is, we probably had some people glazing over when we start talking about the finances, but it is really important because it's their money, it's our money. It's not we're not getting it from somewhere else. So I feel particularly responsible for making sure we make wise choices about how we spend that. So so we are done with our capital. Is there anything else that you think of that we're doing? Because I think we've got it all.
That seems like plenty.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot to keep track of.
And hopefully the airport will be done, the courthouse will start, and then we'll prioritize the jail, and so we can ease into all those projects. So yeah, that's awesome. One of the things that I've been really interested in is ag. A lot of us moved here because of not necessarily because we were farmers, but because we love the space, we love the outdoor activities. But ag is a significant part of Montrose County and of the revenue of the county, and even the state of Colorado. Despite what we hear, it's still a very heavily ag-dependent state. So wanted to make sure we mention the scholarships, and that's coming up due, I think, May 30th. So we need to encourage people that if you're a high school senior, you can go on to the Montrose County website and put an application for a scholarship for the Future Farmers, or for the Ag Future Farmers of America.
Yep, I think it's through Montrose Community Foundation.
Yeah.
And so you can check their website for that after.
Do you have a link from our website?
You know, we
We
do.
can check.
Yeah, we do.
All right, good.
Or we will. But
Yeah, now that we
yeah, we do or we will. But
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think this is the second or third year that the county has funded those scholarships. They're $2,500 a piece, as you said, for graduating seniors, FFA members. And we've had some great recipients already in the past couple of years. Kids that are going on, definitely going to make careers of being in ag, and want to go out and in most cases come back to the community and continue to do what they love.
We'd love to have that, and that you're just tagging on to the whole ag pieces. You think about the cultivator in Olathe that we just helped contribute to. That will also help young folks that are interested in farming or food production and things like that. So that'll tag on to that ag emphasis. And I feel like ag is one of the things that the county, it's important to me, it's important to the other commissioners to make sure that we support and encourage people that, especially young kids that want to stay here and would like to go into some kind of farming activity. Sure like to see that happen. And, as towns grow, we've seen it happen all across Colorado. As towns grow, they get further and further away from those roots. That's something that I think is important for us to make sure we hold on to that in that culture. So yeah. And then as we kind of, sort of wrap up our conversation, so the county's doing a lot of things. We want to hear from you. We want to make sure that we're responsive to our residents. And if there's something that you're interested in, John and I are happy to chat with you about that and let you know if you have any questions. You can call either one of us anytime. But we did want to tell you a little bit about, the legislature just ended. It just ended a couple of days ago. And so we want you to know that we stay in touch with what's going on, the bills that would affect Montrose County, that might affect our livelihood, might cost the county more. There's been a number of things in the last couple of sessions that have come down that will impact the county and impact the county budget. So just want people to know that we also not just advocate on the local level, but we also advocate at the state level. We have lobbying groups that help us keep track of all the bills, and we weigh in on those all the time just to make sure that we're getting our voices heard for Montrose County at the state level. So for me, that's been a personal goal, is to get better at that and to make sure that we testify, make sure people hear from Montrose County. It's been lots of times the voices are from the Front Range and they don't hear about the rural areas. So I want to make sure we pay attention to that. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's important. We want to hear from people, right? We want you to let us know if this is something that you're interested in, if there's topics that you'd like for us to talk about. Any parting words of wisdom that you'd like to say?
No, if this is a way folks want to engage with us, we're happy to hear from you, and please do reach out. I think it's countytalk@montrosecounty.net. We'll get you hooked up with the show here, and we'll take questions and we can respond. So hopefully this is beneficial to folks that are out there watching, and probably the number one county podcast in the Tri-County region at this point. So.
Well, and some of the topics in the future may not be as complicated or as, I mean, when you start talking about finances and things like that, sometimes you lose people, but we want to make sure that you know that we are transparent with anything we do. We also just want to remind you that we have a transparency module on the website. You can see, day by day what people spend, and that's maybe boring, but it is important. We want you to know how the county works and what we're doing and why we're doing it, and you're free to ask us those questions anytime. So countytalk@montrose.net. Thanks for joining us.